Okay, the concept here is simple. I pose a hypothetical, some of them good, some of them bad, and you are forced to pick one or the other. Feel free to leave your answers in the comments below in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and A or B. I'm also going to attach a Google form. That way, if you want to answer that, I can just have data of how many people picked what answer. Then perhaps if people like it and I make another one of these, I can put the results of the last one into the next one. So let's just get right on with it. Would you rather get one C6 character of your choice every 6 months, but that's the only way that you can get new characters? Or would you rather get every single new character that comes out for free, but every constellation for every character is locked at 0, including characters you already own? I personally think this is a really tough one for a lot of different types of players. If you're someone who really devotes themselves to the church of one specific character, you're of course going to want to see 6 of them for free. But what if a character you like just as much comes out that you didn't even know existed yet? And if you're a more meta-oriented player, C6 is also very enticing because C6 5-stars are just insane. But once again, you are locking yourself out of maybe even stronger characters. Sometimes that's even going to include a dedicated support for a character that maybe didn't exist yet. And in that scenario, you're going to have to wait a little bit to maybe get your hands on them, and perhaps somebody even more enticing comes out in the meantime. Even for me, this is a tough one because I've never had a C6 5-star besides the standard banners, which are kind of ugh. But I've had several C1s, C2s, and a few C4s even. And I can't imagine not having them and just locking everyone at C0. So I think that I would have to go with the C6 every 6 months, but goddamn, the analysis paralysis of picking one character? God, I'd probably be stuck in that choice for weeks. I mean, so many new characters would come out in that time. And for me, there is no way I would ever be picking a 4-star again. So I was basically saying never get another 4-star. But yeah, I'd have to go A for this one. Okay, next up, 10 times the amount of non-paid primos, but everything to do with character building except artifacts costs 10 times as much. Or you get 10 times the amount of resin materials, including artifacts, so talent books, EXP, whatever you need to build a character, doesn't matter. But non-paid primos are reduced to 25% of their initial value, and you can no longer top up. This one may not be properly balanced. I fidgeted with the numbers a little bit and I thought, this sounds like a pretty balanced decision because on one hand, you have really good pulling power with that many natural primos. However, 10 times the amount of materials to build a character, meaning it would cost like 60 mil just to get a character to 999 talents with a level 90 5-star weapon. You would need over 1,000 talent books, 1,000 purple talent books to max out a character's talents. But part of the thing that's balancing this one out is the fact that with all those natural primos, if you don't want to wish for everybody, you have a lot of ability to refresh your resin, getting more resin. Daily commissions alone are going to give you 600 primos in this scenario, and that's enough to refresh 5 times a day. Then for the other option, of course, you are trading the ability to pull for more characters in exchange for the ability to make your current characters very goddamn strong. With getting 10 times the amount of artifacts from a domain and spending 10 times as less time in every other activity, you would be decked out in no time at all. You'd have very strong characters, you just wouldn't get very many. Perhaps this question would be better posed under the assumption you would be starting a new account. That way you can't just have an account full of build characters already and just get a ton of primos for basically no downside. I still think it's a pretty tough question regardless. That being said, I would easily go with the more primos because variety really is the spice of life, and I can't imagine just passing up on so many characters in exchange for strong ones. On to another wishing based one. Soft and hard pity are both cut in half, meaning you basically would get characters twice as fast as you can now. But if you miss a character, you can never wish on them again. You can also no longer top up or buy a Welcome Moon anymore. Or you can get every character for free at C0, but you have to wait a year for them to be on your account. So you have to watch everybody playing with them that whole time, knowing that it's going to take a while. Now this question I find a little bit interesting because there are so many different types of players that would answer this probably quite easily. If you're somebody who already skips most of the characters that come out because you're just not interested, the first option is probably incredibly appealing to you because you have a lot of time to save and you don't care if you never get those characters again because you never cared in the first place. But if you're somebody who diehard simps for one character and maybe that character just hasn't come out yet, I think it would probably be quite painful for you to have to wait a full year to get them while everybody else is having fun with them. I know I would hate it. I'd probably lose interest in the character by then. Not only that, but whether you approach this from the premise of starting a new account or using it on your existing one, you are put in a scenario where you are not going to get any new characters for a full year. There are already some people who do no-wish challenge accounts and stuff that already like basically have this, but not that they would care about the pro or the con in this case. I still think it's probably a pretty difficult decision anyway. I would personally have a very hard time deciding this. On one hand, you basically have a free-to-play game where, yeah, you'll skip some people, but you have a lot of power to get constellations, get characters that you want easily, and you can play the game pretty stress-free. But on the other hand, you'll also get everybody for free. You just gotta be patient. The downside of that one is, say you want constellations for that character a year later, and at that point they were just on banner, you missed them, and then you gotta wait like another 6 months to a year to be able to get the constellations you want for them. I don't know about you guys, but I played a lot of games that have overseas versions and Western versions that are far behind, and I really hate being able to see content that I'm excited for like a year in advance. It's painful to wait that long. So for me, I would easily go with A here. Breaking away from the wishing ones now. Would you rather have to remove 4 elements of your choosing permanently from your roster in perpetuity, or have to remove 3 weapon types from your roster in perpetuity? And for the sake of this making a little bit more sense, let's just say that if you did remove 4 of the elements from the game, from your roster, that you would have some kind of little gadget or something to solve them for you, or they would be a different element so you wouldn't have puzzles that you could never solve. Now, for some small percentage of you out there, you already play challenge accounts. Maybe it's your main account and it's an easy choice for you. You're playing like a sword only account or a bow only account or whatever it may be, and you got an easy choice here. But for most of us, we're probably going to have to exclude some characters that we love. Myself, for example, if I had to remove weapons, I know Claymore would be on that list. And if I had to remove an element, I know Geo would be on that list. So either way, I'm losing Ito, one of my favorite characters. When it comes to weapons, I would probably have to get rid of Claymore, which is sad, no more Ito, Catalyst, which is very sad because I love both Baiju and New Valette, and Sword? It's an extremely tough choice with those last remaining 3 because there's somebody I love from all of them. All I know is that Bow is non-negotiable. I would not get rid of Bow. I love having Yelan. I would never give her up. You know what? It would actually have to probably be Polearm because I don't think I could give up Kazuha. And as far as elements go, Geo, Cryo, Pyro. As much as it would suck, probably have to go with Anemo just because losing Kazuha sucks, but losing Electro would be worse because without Electro, all those Dendro characters would basically be worthless. As for which choice I would have to make, I'd probably have to go with the elements, cutting the elements out because at least that way I still get all my Hydro characters. Either way, I'd be losing a lot, and it is an extremely tough choice, and both suck. Finally, would you rather be able to re-roll a single substat on a level 0 artifact into any stat of your choice, or be able to re-roll the main stat on an artifact of any level up to 3 times? Now this is one where there is probably a mathematical answer of which one of these is more likely to end up with a good outcome, especially because with the substat choice, you get to choose exactly what you want. There's no gambling, where the main stat, it might end up with a bad main stat still. However, since the main stat is the ultimate decider of what you want to wear in most cases, it only feels right to give it a limitation, and even so, you are basically taking one option out of the pool by already being on a stat, and it can, in this hypothetical, we're saying you can only change into a stat that it is not currently. So an HP circle, it will not become an HP circle after the reroll, which is why for me, I definitely lean more towards being able to reroll the main stat. Like, perfect substats, but the main stat is just garbage for any character that currently exists, but I save them in case somebody needs it down the line. And even with my hoarding, there are so many artifacts that I just throw out because I'm like, nobody will ever use this, or I just have too many good pieces already from like other sets to use as off pieces, and I just don't need another one lying around. And it's not like I don't have a lot of bad artifacts with one bad substat. I mean, how many of us have gotten like something with like crit damage, crit rate, attack percent, and flat defense, and we end up with an over 100 flat defense artifact piece? I know it happens to me all the time. However, the gambler in me still says the 75% chance is still pretty good, and I don't feel the need to change that one substat into one that is a little bit more appealing. After all, if it gets like 30% attack and no crit stats, I'm still pretty sad even though it is a good artifact. So my own personal choice would have to be B. I feel like I could get so many improvements for goblets with that, even though the chances are, you know, not great to get the exact goblet you need. It's at least another chance at getting a good one. And there are some elements that I got the worst luck with, and I still don't have good ones, even after all these years of playing. So remember to share your answers down in the comments below, maybe a question if you would like to pose one to other people yourself. Thank you for watching. Thank you to my members and my patrons for supporting me as always, and I'll see you in the next one.
Attaboy!